This video is all about the accelerator pedal in the 107 SL. Now the reason for doing a video on the accelerator pedal is that I have never come across an SL that actually has the accelerator pedal connected properly with the right bits on it, and our parts car here, the gold parts car, which we took this off, is no exception. So I'm just going to quickly run over how the accelerator pedal is connected and what should be on it and what always goes horribly wrong. So the first thing to notice is that these accelerator pedals, clamps and bits, you can get them from Mercedes, and Mercedes is probably the cheapest place to get them. You will see these from second-hand parts dealers, eBay, etc., more expensive than you can get them at Mercedes. And at the end I'll leave you all the part numbers and the prices. So what often happens is the rubber wears out, and the rubber and the plastic backing are actually two separate bits. But when you buy the pedal from Mercedes, it comes as one unit and includes this little clamp here. Now, that is one of the things to break or wear out. And on this particular one, there should have two little flaps here. It's only got one, which basically means that's not sliding up and down properly. That should be lubricated with a little bit of grease as well. The most common thing to go horribly wrong is the actual attachment of this to the footwell. Now, if you've got our 107 SL, you will know that those front footwells are prone to rusting because water gets in under the mat and sits there. And if you have replaced the footwells, which the previous owner of this red project car that we're working on at the moment replaced all the footwells, you will basically need to get yourself another one of these brackets. Now, you could make up the bracket, or you could do what we've done, which is go along to Mercedes and just buy one that you know is going to be the right dimensions. Because that bracket there, the way it attaches to the pedal, and the way it should attach to the pedal, is it actually slides in the gap. This slides down like so, and in this little hole here, there is supposed to be a little clamp, which is this piece here. Once again, this is available from Mercedes, and that locks in there and keeps the pedal and the clamp together and allows you to remove it at a later date. So we've bought all of these three bits new. Firstly, because we don't have this clamp on our footwell. Secondly, because what we took out the car, you can see, has been modified and wrecked and has actually broken up there anyway. Now, we have two small issues. Following this channel, you'll know that we've made up our own OEM looking undermats. They come out really nicely, but on the driver's side one, there is obviously a hole in there for that bracket. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, I've made this mat up here based on a mat from our other left-hand drive to ADSL, which is sitting up there on the ramp. Ideally, what you should do is you should attach this to the front footwell first and then measure up the mat based on that, because if that's not exactly right, you're going to have to start modifying this. If you have replaced your front footwells, or this bracket is missing for any reason, or you just want to do the job properly, you've got three ways of attaching this bracket. On the red Dragon, the red 2ADSL that was stolen recently, what the people who did the welding on that car had done is they just drilled two holes in the front footwell and bolted the bracket to the front footwell. Now, the trouble with that is you then drilled two holes in your front footwell, and you're going to get moisture and all sorts of other stuff potentially through those holes. So I'm not a great fan of doing that. The next way of doing it is obviously to weld it on. Just, sand off the E-coat on here and tack weld it on. That works well, but once again, as soon as you get a welder on those front footwells, you will burn off any undercoat, and bearing in mind that area is very prone to rust, I'm not a fan of doing that either. So what we are going to use is the 3M panel bond. We're just going to sand off this down to bare metal. We're going to measure up exactly where that needs to go in the front footwell, sand off the rust encapsulator that we've put down in that front footwell, and glue the two of them together with panel bond and a neodymium magnet just to clamp it down. When you come to line up your bracket in the front footwell, it is quite important. This is the accelerator pedal here basically, or the stalk onto which that fitting slides, and you can see at the back, I don't know how well you can see that stop there, but it's important to test this to make sure that when that is slid on there and that hits the stop, that hasn't slid all the way off. So you have to, in our particular case, we've marked it on there with marker pen, the optimum sort of position for that. But this hole here, I don't know if this footwell came with that square hole. I don't know what it's there for, but don't be tempted to think, oh, that must be there for the accelerator pedal bracket, because if you put your bracket anywhere near there, it wouldn't work. Similarly, these two dimples here at the end, you would think would be perfectly aligned, possibly to drill them out and maybe even put the bracket around that way, but if you do that, it doesn't fit properly. So we're going to go with our testing, i.e. by eye, and just sand off a little square there, sand off the bottom there, and panel bond that down like that. Now, it's a bit difficult to show you here, but it is important that when that bar hits the stop there, that fitting there doesn't go off the end of the bar. So when you come to measure up where your bracket here is going to be, it's important that you actually look at it closely. I'm actually going to just clip this in temporarily, because when we're lining this up, we might want to make sure that this doesn't slide up over the bracket. So I've just masked off the bit that we don't want to sand and we don't want to put glue on. I'm just going to sand that back down to bare metal now, and then sand off the bottom of the bracket, then put some panel bond and leave it overnight. We've sanded off that back down to bare metal. It's difficult to see in this light, just using the finger file, which is quite accurate. It allows you to sand squares. If you can't do that with an angle grinder or something without taking way too much of the rust encapsulator and primer off. Next up, we'll just sand off the E-coat on this bracket. This is the panel bond here. This is the glue, the two-part epoxy. You'll need one of these nozzles. They're one-time use nozzles. As I've mentioned before, this does tend to keep quite well. You just need to take that little metal washer there off and screw that next and take that out. I always like to squeeze a little bit of glue out first, make sure it's coming out. Thread the nozzle through the plastic cap, screw that down tight. And once again, just squeeze out a little bit of glue. The nozzle mixes the two epoxies together on the way down. There we go. You need a thin coat on here, a thin coat on the other surface, and then you need a thicker coat on here. So we're going to basically prime the surface first. We're just using these blank plastic cards. You can use an old credit card or anything like that. Remember that this here is a primer coat. You don't want a thick coat on there. Now, I've left the Mercedes label on, as I always do, simply because the next person that comes along can see that we've used genuine parts. Again, a thin primer coat on here. I've left the tape on that we used to mark, because we can then take that off and that will make sure that we don't get glue where we don't want it. Now, the observant amongst you may see that I have put a big neodymium magnet on the back of this, and I've also put one on the underside of that footwell. So when I come to glue this down, those two neodymium magnets will pull this tight. So we put a primer layer on here, a primer layer on the front footwell. Now I'm going to put a slightly thicker layer on, and then we're going to hopefully get some squeeze out, which will seal everything in and protect it from rust, and also make sure it's glued down properly. The way this works, it has tiny glass beads inside it, so when you clamp the two together, they'll always clamp at the right separation. Of course, I didn't do anything sensible like bring a camera stand down, so I've got to be very careful with these magnets. They're very strong not to stick them in the wrong place. So it's just a matter of sticking these two together, making sure you get the bracket the right way round. Right on without too many dramas. It's just a matter of seeing if we can get this tape off. The one thing I've noticed about the rubberized rust encapsulator is it does give a very tacky finish, almost as if it's not dry, which is not that great in a front footwell. Measure, 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 cut 3 times. It's the same when you're gluing. Once you have panel bonded that piece in place, it's not moving again, so make sure that the pedal does what you expect it to do and is in the right position. This looks like it's close to there, but in actual fact it's because this isn't in properly. When you finish with that panel bond, just put the green cap back on, make sure you've wiped away any glue around the edges, put the washer back on, screw that down, and that should be good to go for the next time you need it. Those nozzles are one-time use, so you are going to waste that amount of glue each time you do a job. So if you've got more than one job to do, my advice would be do them all together. I'm going to finish this video here. I'm pleased with how that's come out. I'm just going to leave the part numbers and the costs at the end of the video. The only other thing we've got to do in this footwell is fit the little corner switch in there. On the older SLs, they had a foot switch for the full beam and also for the windscreen wiper washer, so we've got that. We've got to recarpet it and just mend some plastic brackets that are broken on it. We're just waiting for some seat belts to come from Lithuania. We're going to have to probably take them to pieces and make up our own, sew our own up, etc. That will be the subject of another video. And we've got to figure out how that ECU there attaches. I've taken some brackets off the 1975 450 SL, but I'm not sure they're the same brackets for that Bosch ECU unit down there. So if anybody has an older SL and can send me pictures of the brackets, how that attaches to the front footwell, I would be forever indebted. Now tomorrow I am taking a 8.5-hour road trip up to Aberdeen to go and look at a very sweet Fiat 238 camper van, which we may buy. It's been sat in a field for the last 2 years, hasn't moved. Somebody shipped it from Italy, spent a lot of money refurbishing it, and then we had the COVID lockdown and he got called out to do some work in a foreign country, so it's been sitting there. So I'm going to drive up there with my long-suffering wife and see if I can maybe get it started and possibly even buy it. So I'll probably do a little video on that. It is one of the sweetest vans you'll ever see and will be the cousin to this little Fiat 500 that is sitting under all of this rubbish. I'm really looking forward to finishing this project here so we can clear out some of this junk, including the gold parts car, and get our garage back to normal. As many times before, and I'm sure I'll mention it again, you can get all the part numbers etc from this site here, mb-tilecatalog.info. The foot pedal assembly part numbers are in the section marked control. Click on control and you can see that the clip, the rubber section, the plastic section of the pedal and that little universal joint all come as separately, but those 3 things come together or came together in the pedal assembly that we bought. We got the accelerator pedal bracket from Mercedes, part number 107 616 0120. Total cost was £25.60. Got the accelerator pedal assembly from Mercedes, part number 123 300 0204. You can see the 123 is a different model of Mercedes, so that's obviously common to different Mercedes, and the total including that little clip was £37.50. The part number for that clip is 12498888678, and as I say, you can spend considerably more for those parts on eBay or other sources, so it's worth looking at Mercedes before you buy them elsewhere.